Ring, ring. Hello? Really? You need me now, you say? Do excuse me, I'll be straight back, I promise.
You can tell you're not holding a telephone.
Welcome to the Staten Island and Southwestern Railroad.
What are you even pointing at? Just this train over and over again.
They run on electric or diesel?
Steve.
Sounds like low emission.
Strictly nocturnal.
FX is what we do in the shadows. All new Monday at 10 on FX. Stream on Hulu.
Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world. Now your hope and compassion is gone. You've sold out your dream to the world. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead. You're dead and out of this world.
You're listening to the League Podcast, the Vampire Council, a What We Do in the Shadows podcast, Season 6, Episode 4, The Railroad. I'm Matt Dursin.
Clay and Ferno here.
Welcome back. Clay, it's good to talk to you again, my old chum, after such a long break. We literally just recorded the previous episode.
You may call me Mr. Laszlo Cravensworth.
Yes, so we're getting this. I didn't forget how many episodes this season is. Is it like 10 or 11, or is it like a weird number? It's like 11 or something.
It's usually 10, isn't it?
Yeah, but anyway, this is 4. I mean, we're getting close to like getting close to like the halfway mark, and this is the last season. So it's a little sad in a way. You know, we're going to enjoy it while we have it. And this season so far, I think, is very funny. We get into a lot of the good stuff in this episode. The sort of office politics thing that's going on with
it does look as
Guillermo.
if this season is 11 episodes. So
all right,
you're right there.
So we still got 8 more.
One more. So maybe that takes the sting out of them putting out 3 episodes at once.
Maybe
over
yeah.
here. Us recap podcasters so upset. We're so upset that they put out 3 at once. Too much. Yeah,
I mean, what do they care? I mean, I guess
I reposted on from What We Do in the Shadows Instagram of an interview with Mark Proksch, and they were like saying like, are you really, you kind of sad there, or like that there's not more? And he said the same thing I've been saying, which is like, it's probably good that it ends like on a high note. Like let's just end it here, which I think
agree.
You agree with too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about this with Rachel last night, and just in general, shows that go on too long, it just becomes kind of sad, like you're just like, just stop. I mean, I was never really a fan of like The Office or something, but I know for a fact that after Steve Carell left, it wasn't as good, but they just kept going and going, and I get it. Networks are like, no, we need this. Like they get ad money, they whatever, and they just want the shows to continue. But
they didn't drive that one into the ground. And I'm actually not. Maybe it's the exception that proves the rule. And I'm not a huge fan of the show, but somehow Always Sunny seems to be able to do it.
Well, that's still the same cast, at least, right? I mean, those are all the same people. So that's definitely
after
probably
Carell
the
left the
exception,
office, didn't go too long. They did do some more, but they didn't go too long. Did eventually end.
Right. Well, I always point to the X-Files, right? Like when David Duchovny left and they brought in, what's his face? I forget, the guy from Terminator 2. Robert Patrick, is that his name? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I stopped watching it. I mean, when they don't want to even be on it, like, well, why should I want to watch it? It's kind of like,
right.
I don't know. Same thing. Walking Dead. Andrew Lincoln left The Walking Dead. And you're just like, oh man,
these guys can all be happy with a good body work,
right? But you got to know when it's time. Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows. They're just like, yes, ended on a high note. Same thing with, like, we just did our Curb cast. Like, I think even though Curb Your Enthusiasm was on for 12 seasons, they would definitely take long breaks, and everything. And I think Larry was just like, oh, it's time.
A different way
So-
to say the exception could prove the rule, because it was around for like 20 years, but they
Yeah.
didn't just like immediately like always go back, and we didn't even know if those last couple seasons would even ever happen until they announced when the seasons were going to come out.
Yeah, I think it was kind of just like Larry would have ideas and then say, okay, I think we got a season here. And he would call up HBO, whatever, and be like, hey, I want to do it. And they'd be like, okay.
Yeah,
So-
we know we can make some money here. Let's do it.
Yeah, right. That's basically what it's all about, obviously, the money. And it is a different time, let's say. I mean, we always say it, but like back in the day of like, Friends or Seinfeld or whatever, they were like 20 episodes, like 22 episodes a season.
Yeah, even when we're watching Enterprise, even that has like a good long, like I'm like surprised how long the seasons are. And that was like only the early 2000s, 2004
Yeah.
or so. Like you still get 20 episodes per season. And I'm like, wow, this is great.
That was
plenty to watch.
Still how they did it. It's only been like, more recently where they started to kind of be like, all right, we'll do 10, and then we'll take a long break and then whatever. And sometimes they would do that thing. I think it was to sell more DVDs, but they would do like a bunch of episodes, like part 1 and part 2 of the season or whatever, like.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah. Now the new thing that they do on streaming is like it's not DVD extras, but there's different sort of watch-alongs and like extra. They take a bunch of stuff that they cut out and they make like extendedly long episodes, and you could like watch like Parks and Rec, like the extended version.
Well, that's fine. I mean, whatever. If they've got this footage or whatever, they might as well put it on stream. Streaming is definitely a completely different thing, but in a way I do miss, like, I liked buying like DVDs. You'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy the season of whatever, like, and then watch it all. I still have like all my 6 Feet Under DVDs, like the entire run, all on DVD.
Yeah, Stacy does too. She loves that show.
Oh, I love that show. So I don't know. It used to be a fun thing to look forward to, like, oh, I'm gonna get this, and then there'd be extras, like the director's commentary or whatever, which you might watch once, but still,
unless you're
whatever.
like us, like doing like our movie things.
Doing a
I'll
podcast.
usually watch the director commentary. Anyways, it's like, oh, I'm seeing this movie like 1,000 times. So why don't I watch it with the commentary this time?
Even though we don't have DVDs anymore, we still have What We Do in the Shadows. We can watch it on Hulu or whatever. So this episode is called The Railroad, and this was probably my favorite one so far this season. It's a classic. And AV Club also gave it an A. Just, I don't know if you care or if you read AV Club.
I don't specifically for this show, etc. I don't read or watch anything else, so I can bring my own vibe to it.
All right, very good.
I mean, I follow Shadows Instagram and stuff like that. I'll watch like and ShadowsFXonHulu YouTube. I'll watch promos and bonus stuff like that's actually made by the studio, I guess, for you to see. But I don't read any other reviews or listen to any podcasts or anything.
All right. Well, there's a few that I check out once in a while, but
good.
Like,
I'm glad that you do.
Sure.
It makes for a good. You can talk about the reviews you see.
Yeah, and sometimes they sort of point out things that I might have missed or whatever too, or like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that or whatever. So, but anyways, this one of the great things about this episode is we see the return of Sean, the neighbor.
Shawnee.
So I love Sean. It's always like a good time. He's always he's a great character. I love this kind of, I don't even know what it's just kind of like, he's like, hey, like Laz, like he's one of those guys, like you just, if you I guess we all must know a guy like this, right? Like we all have a Sean somehow, or we did.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So
So anyways,
sitcom like dumb neighbor thing, trope thing.
Right. And there is kind of like a history there. But I think he's a very regular, relatable guy almost. And not in a way like, oh, that's me, but it like I know a guy like that, So anyways, yeah, Laszlo and Colin Robinson are in the basement. and they're working on the monster. And he's like, Colin Robinson's kind of like, no, he can, this guy is ready. And he's like, no, he's made for shit work. And that's all he's going to be, good for.
You did skip the cold open, kind of where they're all sitting around the foyer, or not the foyer, but in the living room. And we have the return of Jerry.
Oh, of course. Like, how did I forget that? Yes.
So Jerry's there giving a presentation about how they're going to take over and conquer the world with the guide. And they're all very fucking bored with this presentation. Nadja's sleeping. And Laszlo fakes a phone call with his hand. And he goes, ring, ring. Oh, yes.
Ring, ring.
I'll be right there.
Yeah.
And Jerry's just like, I can see that you don't have a phone in your hand. There's no cord.
You're obviously not. It's not a real telephone.
And the guy is like, because Laszlo's like, how long will this be? This is all very interesting. How long will this be? And the guy's like, well, I have a lunch prepared in the foyer, and they show that there's like all these dead bodies in there for their little like lunch, like you do like corporate like things.
You order Panera or something. Or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's always the Panera catering,
Panera
with the sandwiches or whatever.
Oh,
and then so well, just to wrap it up, that they're like Nadja and Nandor. Nadja's like, we have a 9 o'clock, which is 9 p.m. because Canon Capital works at night to keep up with the Asian markets.
Yep.
Nandor and I have a 9 o'clock at Canon Capital. Gotta get that green. And Jerry's like, I thought you guys were serious about taking the world for the world this time. They're like, oh yeah. Like we are. But they're all just, and Laszlo's like on the phone, like, oh, I will get that to you right now. Oh, I have to go. And he runs away.
Yeah. They just like they're just, I don't know. Obviously have no interest in this. Poor Jerry, but yeah, taking over the world, I guess it seems like a lot of work. So yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah, anyway, so that is true. That is all that. That is the opening, and then we have the You're Dead, and then we come back. Yes, and there I skipped it because I was on my Sean, thing there.
Shawnee.
So yeah, they're working on him, and then Nadja calls down on like this intercom down to the basement, which it's pretty good. I didn't know they had that, but she's like, Sean is here, and he's like, oh, tell him I'll be right up. And then she's like, he's on his way down. He's like, and they're like, oh, Sean. So they have to cover up the monster.
That's where they built the monster in the first place, down there.
I know, but I didn't know they had an intercom there. I mean, that's pretty.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't. I thought I heard what you said is that you didn't know they had a basement.
No, of course they have a basement. Yeah, no,
and there's like an elevator too. I didn't know there was an elevator. That was
no, and that's pretty good. But yeah. So Sean comes down, and like because they have to cover up the monster. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And like, "Oh, this is our laundry room." He's like, "It smells like piss and like eggs or something like that." I forget.
Yeah, Laszlo says, "Well, Nadja insists that we use an organic detergent."
Yeah. So he's like, he got laid off, and his wife is Sean got laid off, and his wife has been bugging him about getting a job. He's like, and so you guys, you still work for the railroad, right? And like, oh yes, the railroad. Yeah, like that's from a couple seasons ago, I think.
Yeah,
it goes way back. The railroad.
Then, I think is it Colin that does the thing that explains that. Yeah, that's why we keep weird hours, and that's how we explain it to the neighbors. Is we say we work for the railroad.
And he's like, Sean doesn't ask any questions. He's kind of a dipshit. He's like, so, and it's good because we don't know anything about the railroad. I think he says we don't know dick about the railroad. Is what he says. I love that it's the railroad. What is it even like? It's such a great thing. But anyways, he's like, no, I'm hoping, maybe you guys can get me an interview. Like Laszlo's like, of course, and then he leaves, and yeah, he's like. He's like, why don't you just hypnotize him into forgetting it? And he's like, oh, I can't do that. He's stupid. His brain is fried. They've hypnotized him too many times. It's like, yeah. And then he comes out. He says, elevator go, like no go nowhere or something like that, or no go or something.
Yeah, you have to press the button, Shawnee.
You gotta push the button. So anyway, yeah. Now they have to set up an interview with Sean at the railroad. Meanwhile, more job stuff. This is like the theme of this episode, I guess, because Nandor, Nandor is the janitor still at Cannon Capital, and Nadja works there.
Nadja has her own desk, and and she's like very excited about she's like, I'm learning all the dark arts of the corporate underworld. And she's like, she's like, I need to make sure that, because she's there because she wants to make sure that Guillermo has a successful, rise to the top. And so these dogs know like what they're dealing with. And they see her like walking down the hall, but in the conference room, somebody's like choking on something, and they give him like, they kind of like give him the Heimlich, and then like a piece of jewelry like flies out of the guy's mouth, and she picks it up and like puts it on her jacket.
Yeah,
she,
well, I guess
made the guy choke on it.
Right. The insinuation was she made him eat it, or maybe she put it in his food, whatever it is. But yeah, like so Guillermo, because Guillermo's the one who gives him the Heimlich, so it's like he looks like the hero. That's what I got out of it.
Sure.
And so like, yeah, I mean, he's only there because she killed the other, the person. Like she really helped clear the way for him. So yeah, that's the history, but it becomes kind of an issue. So yeah, like Jordan, Tim Heidecker, the guy who runs the office, the boss, he's all excited. He's like, we just acquired Hancock and Company. Or Hancock and Sons? Is that the name of the company? Like it seems like it's kind of
it's
this
Hancock and Sons. And also I was thinking that his name's Jordan because did you see Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh, actually I did, but it's not my favorite.
It's based on a real guy, Jordan Belfort, who was like a real piece of shit.
Well, this guy
so I think that's why his name is Jordan.
Very good. Yes,
my theory.
This guy's also a piece of shit, and but he's all excited. They just acquired Hancock and Sons and whatever, and then like they're all high fiving and everything. It's like such bro, like it's so finance bros.
Before that, Guillermo goes over to Nadja's desk and is like, Jordan's going to be giving a presentation in 15 minutes, so you should be there. And Nadja goes, I can't stand the way he's walking around like he's the piss king of everything now.
Yeah, because she got him there, but he doesn't, he thinks that he's just, a hard worker and rose up the ranks on his own, like merits. But they do like it, like he's like, like, they have that, like this Guillermo, this guy, he's here first thing in the morning. He's like the last to leave.
He keeps calling him a ding dong. This ding dong is going to be partner material. Hot tip. He goes up to the film crew and he like gives him like the pound, knuckles.
Yeah, right.
And then he's like talking to the film crew guy too, and he's like, "Oh, nice shoes." He's like, "Hey, tell you, hot tip. This little ding dong is going to be partner material."
Yeah, he's like Guillermo de la fucking Cruz. It is total Wolf of Wall. Now that you mention it, like that is exactly what it is. And it is there's a lot of like you and I like to send emails to each other in fake corporate.
Yeah, we go harder than they do in this episode, but they go pretty hard with it, isn't it?
They go pretty hard with some of that stuff.
Well, they do a lot of
or whatever.
Yeah, LBO, which is leveraged buyout.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. I thought it was something they made up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the LBO team, which is Jeremy and Rajat that I mentioned before in the previous episode. The red hair guy and the Indian guy, like they're like part of the leveraged buyout team. Like that's their thing. Yeah. They have a few lines in this episode. Yeah.
Jeremy Levick. So yeah, and they were all just bragging about what a great thing they did and everything. And he tells Guillermo to book a space at a restaurant. He's like, we're gonna go ham on some steaks.
And the part of the whole team, and you're part of it too. You're coming.
Yeah, you're there. You're coming too. But then he says, hey, who's that guy that you're kind of close, the jailer that you're kind of close with? Every time he comes into my office to take out the trash, it's like a 20-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Which like is actually kind of funny. Like that does happen. Like you do get people like that.
I was going to say that does happen. And I've had like, because I deal with like backstage and stuff like that. And sometimes there's a certain amount of access certain people get and whatever. But like, I've also like been told like, hey, if you see me talking to that guy, I don't want to be totally rude to him, but
interrupt.
tell them
Yeah.
you come up and interrupt me and take me away from and say that I have to do something backstage or whatever. Like that happens to me a lot, actually.
That's
You know, like I
hilarious.
want to
You're
talk to
the
them.
get out.
I want to be nice to them, but I know I'm going to be stuck there. So can you, can you
Right.
make it less painful for me? But also in the corporate atmosphere too, it's just like you need to put this guy in his place and make sure that he does not like talking to everybody.
Well, Jordan has a very simple solution. He just he's like, because he tells Guillermo like, yeah, that guy, yeah, and he says, I'll talk to him, and he says, no, I want you to fire him. Jordan doesn't have any like, he doesn't care about anybody, so yeah, he's like, nah, just fire him.
And also there's a scene here with Tim Heidecker, which is, it's typically fun. Like I don't think that Tim Heidecker is as funny as he is on other things, but he's really playing this role really well. And he definitely is kind of abusive toward Guillermo in different ways. As much as he's praising him, he's also doing the thing that like the vampires have been mistreating Guillermo for forever. So Guillermo says as much that he's used to it, but he goes, he brings something like a prescription into his office, and like Tim Heidecker like opens it, and he's like, what the fuck is it? What the fuck is this? And he like throws the pills all everywhere, and then he's like, pick it up. He's like being super mean. And then Guillermo's like, well, I kind of, I really like Jordan, and I'm kind of used to like the abuse.
Yeah, at one point he says like, Jordan calls out to him and he says, yes, master. I mean, sir, or whatever. Yeah. He calls him master by mistake. So yeah, there is definitely that correlation between the way he was treated by Nandor and the other vampires and then the way he's treated now. But yeah, now he is tasked with firing Nandor, which is so there's a dilemma there.
Yeah, because Guillermo says, I'll talk to him. And Jordan's like, no, you'll fire him.
Yeah, he's like, no, just fire him. Yeah, I'm kind of going to jump around, I guess, a little bit. There is a scene, though, because Nandor thinks he's doing a great job, actually, too. He has like a face-to-face with the gear, and he's sort of confessional. He's like, yeah, doing a good job. And I love they show him just dumping the trash, and he throws the whole trash bin in the big...
He's also doing the thing where he's using the whole paper towels. He's like squirting stuff on it, but using the whole paper towel to like wipe stuff down.
Well, I love he says like, I clean the hangover vomit from the trash bins. I like that. That's how he explains his job. The hangover vomit is clean. Oh, so yeah. And then at one point, that guy Jimmy, who is Jeremy Levick, comes out. He says, someone took a giant shit on the toilet seat in there or whatever. And he's like, oh, yes, I will clean it. Because he's talking about how dignified his job is or something. I mean, I feel like this guy is saying that because he's the one who did it,
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just reading into it.
And I thought it was, too, a little bit like the Nandor's reaction is I'll fix is a little bit like the Family Guy thing where it's like, no, I need more lemon pledge. It's like the broken English, like, I'll fix.
Right.
Like you talk, like people talk to minorities that are cleaning their toilets in a different way that they talk to other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, yeah, somebody left a giant log in there. I'll fix.
I'll fix. Yeah. But he calls him Andy too.
Yeah, Andy.
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, so Guillermo does talk to him, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta kind of fade into the background. Just not be." And Nandor's kind of hurt, but he's like, I understand. Thank you, Guillermo. Like,
yeah, but he also thinks it's coming from Jordan. He's like, get some advice from Jordan. He goes, okay, it's not that easy for me as a leader of an army to like fade in the background or whatever.
As a warrior, he's like, I guess it's just, I think he knows. I don't know. Maybe I'm over analyzing. I think he knows that it didn't come from Jordan. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just stupid. It doesn't even matter.
I mean, either way, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So, meanwhile, the other storyline, I don't know if there is an A or B storyline because they kind of do merge at the end, but it's Sean's storyline, Laszlo and Colin Robinson's plan to get Sean an interview was literally just to rent out a
Make
whole
railroad.
floor and make a railroad office and hire
make
actors to work for the railroad.
This is completely absurdist and so funny.
I know it's the most ridiculous thing you could do to get around this dilemma, but I love it. I do. I'm totally here for it. I love it. What they have all these actors pretending to work on and like he's like, we're gonna need more phones. Like they have these fake phones and stuff. It's so
They have
fake.
fake phones, fake computers, and he's like, and then Colin like gives everybody like a motivational speech. But actually, before that, he's like, and then you two, I want you to be in like an interoffice romance, and I want there to be just a little bit of tension there. And then
I want to feel the tension.
Yeah, the actor's like, "Do we get paid extra for that?" And he goes, "No, you're just lucky to be here."
Yeah, you're lucky to be here at all. Like what?
And then he's like, it's not called. He's like a maniacal director, kind of like, you're working railroad. He's like, sometimes you point at a map. Sometimes you look at the clock,
Yeah, look at the clock. Like what? I mean, what kind of actors do you think respond to an ad that just is like, oh, we need to, have you in a fake office? I mean, I don't know if they said it was a fake
they
office.
think they don't know, and there are cameras there.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. That's a good point. There are
So
cameras.
They, there's some interaction with the crew a little later, but yeah. I mean, what would they know? It's like, pretend you're working railroad.
Yeah, maybe
Pennsylvania railroad.
Maybe they think it's a real railroad. Yeah. So anyway, their plan is to kill. I forget what he says. He doesn't say two birds with one stone, but he says like two somethings with one arrow.
He says two birds with one arrow, which I thought was kind of like maybe a reference to like the bow and arrow from the last episode.
Maybe. Yeah. So they're gonna have the guy that Sean's interviewing with is going to be the monster, who they call Mr. Smith. And this is one of the funniest things. So Sean comes in and he's like, oh, yeah, hey, Les. And they're like, oh, you have to meet with Mr. Smith. Now, he's a tough nut to crack, but,
And then when Shawnee shows up, he's like, hey, while I'm here, I'd love to say hi to Nandor. And there's a guy dressed up as Nandor behind like some blinds. And the guy is like, oh no, Nandor is like very busy. And he like
very busy. Blinds. Yep. Oh yeah, like fake Nandor.
But like, Colin's whole point is that he thinks that the monster, Cravensworth Monster, is capable of doing more things than just being like a brute or whatever it is that Laszlo wants to do with them.
The shit work is what he.
Yeah, so that's the two birds concept. Is like, no, I'm going to prove to you that the monster is more than that.
Yep. Yeah. So Sean sits down with this guy, this monster, like he's like, why Sean Railroad? I think that's what he said. So it's like the monster does know, I guess, conceptually what he's supposed to be doing, but it is such, and he's like, that's a good question. Why Sean Railroad? It's just like, and like, it's like a real job interview. Like it's exactly what you would go through, except the monster only speaks in like he talks like Yoda, like he says things like backwards and
he's
stuff.
like, who Sean? And then Sean goes,
who Sean? Yeah, who am I? It is great. Like Sean is, and meanwhile Laszlo has like a taser, like or a cattle prod ready just in case like the monster is going to like murder him, I guess. And Colin Robinson's like, no, it's, just hold back. It's going well.
Yeah.
And then, the monster gets out from behind the desk and he says, I like cut of Sean's jib. Like cut of Sean's jib. That's one of my favorite things anyway, just to say to someone. It's like, oh, I like the cut of his jib. And he uses that line as just perfect. It's like, Smith likes cut of Sean's jib or something.
Even when he shakes his hand, he's like, "Oh, that's an interesting grip there."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, that's quite a grip." So he hires Sean, and they do like the two shot of Colin Robinson and Laszlo, and he's like, "Yeah, see, it went pretty well." And Laszlo's like, "Yeah, but he wasn't supposed to actually hire him." He's like, "Well, but he didn't kill him."
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, he's like, well, that's true. So they have to like fake, like, you know, give him a job. Like, like they have like his later on. I guess they have like his name like literally taped to like a door. He's like, oh yeah, I gotta. What do I do? Do I call a meeting? Like he doesn't even know. They don't know.
He's like,
Nobody
let's
knows.
go look at the trains.
Yeah, and like,
He's
oh
like,
no.
Oh, but that's like skipping forward a little bit. But meanwhile, at the at Canon Capital Management.
Yeah, well, or are they out to dinner now? Have they gone? Oh no, yeah, they're at the restaurant.
They're sort of they're out at this big meal, and like Jeremy's like, you motherfucker to Guillermo, like, where did you come from?
Jordan. Oh no, Jeremy, you're right, Jeremy. Yeah.
You motherfucker, and and you're kind of like, wait, are they like attacking him? But no, they're like praising him. They're like, where did you come from?
Yeah, he's like, where did you come from? He's like, well, I'm from Staten Island. He's like, no, man, you came from the mailroom, and now you're up here as your assistant. It's like, you're fucked up. Yeah, that's fucked up, man. You're a badass motherfucker. And they're just swearing at all.
Jordan thinks,
like,
like Roger's like, like Jordan loves you. Like, you know, you're a badass. And then they do like a montage where they're like all drinking like a bunch and doing shots and like doing
doing all these shots.
and Guillermo does like it's probably like a weed vape, I guess. And he's like takes it and he's like, whoa.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it reminds me of that. I don't know. I always bring it back to Seinfeld, but there was that episode where George was supposed to meet with like the guys from the Houston Astros, like when he was working for the Yankees, and they're always like, that bastard, you know, like
yeah.
George is like, I love these guys. Everybody's a bastard or a son of a bitch, you know. It's like it's great. He ends up using bastard in a like, you know, like the wrong way or you know whatever, or I guess the right way,
like a praising way kind of thing.
Right. Well, one I like because there's like a woman who has a child out of wedlock, and the guy goes, "Oh, you bastard! Look at the little bastard!" And then the woman gets all mad because you know whatever. But this is what that reminded me of a little bit, although a lot more like you can swear a lot more. But yeah, and they're all drinking and like smoking and everything, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you, fuck yeah."
Yeah, Jordan gives like a praising speech, includes Guillermo in it, and and he's like, I do this for my family, my wife, my kids. But then he's like, do you remember when they were in the mall and it was like, we're all family here? You know what I mean? He does that same thing where it's like, he's like, but Jordan's like, but well, fuck my family. You guys are my family.
Fuck that. This is my family. But I also said when he stands up, he stands up and he says, all right, so most, you know, a good number of you won't be here in 3 months. That's just, you know, because of
performance levels.
Performance levels. Yeah. they're all kind of like, oh, what? I'm telling you, I would watch a Jordan spinoff, even if it's like just a few episodes or something. This is gold. I mean, it's a great scene. When they go back to the house, Nadja is mad that they hired Sean. Like, what are you going to do? And they're like, well, you know, we couldn't hurt his feelings, you know, and tell him the truth. So they're just gonna figure it out again. Like, she's like, what are you doing? Like, so anyway, then I should go back though. Before they went back to the house, Nandor is outside the restaurant watching them all celebrate and hanging out, and he says like he was always opposed to his men cavorting or whatever. I think he says, you know. Well,
he said he would encourage it, but he wouldn't. As the general, he wouldn't he wouldn't like with partake them at the time.
Yeah. But he's got this kind of sad look on his face that he's not invited or whatever. He comes in and when they're back at the house, Guillermo comes in. He's kind of drunk and he's talking about how they acquired Hancock and Sons, and it's funny how he tries to, in a corporate way, make it seem like it's all good. He's like, oh, well, it's a good job for those little, you know, kids in the Middle East or whatever, like to have
third world country. Yeah.
Third world countries. He just says, it says third world country.
When Colin Robinson's like, oh, Hancock and Sons, that's a good shirt. And he's like, not for much longer.
Yeah. But he says like,
we bought it for the land and the brand.
Yeah, I know. What a corporate thing to say. My God. And he's talking about like all this, and now Nadja finally says like, you don't, what are you talking about? Like that you just put all these people out of a job and whatever. You shithead. Like, And this is what he tells them, like he tells her, like, oh, well, you're just you're not as big as me and whatever. And she's like, I made you, you little shit, or whatever. She has a lot of fun names. Yeah, she does. She hisses. Yeah. And this is when he tells them all, like, they're sitting there with their dicks in their hands, and Laszlo says, oh, why not? It's our house. I love that. But I forget if this is the next scene, I'm pretty sure, where they go back to the office and Jordan sees Nandor in there cleaning, and he's like, what? I thought I told you to fire that guy. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. So he has to go in and he tells them that they're downsizing.
So he's like, oh, why don't you have a seat? Which is never good to hear that. He goes, oh, good to get off the old doggies.
Yeah, right. He does it. And he's like, yeah, the company is downsizing. And he's like, oh, hope you're not getting rid of Jimmy. And I love every time he talks to Guillermo in this episode, he's like, what's cracking? Yeah. But anyway, yeah, he tells him like that he is fired, and he's like, well, I understand. He's like, it's what's best for everyone or whatever. And he says, all right, I understand. And then he's like packing up his stuff. And then Nandor
pulls his mic pack off. He's like so mad. And then he's like telling the crew, he's like, please, like, leave me alone. Please, please.
Leave me alone. And they keep following him.
Yeah, he has like that box of stuff that you carry out of an office, which they do in every show when someone gets fired too. And he has this plunger sticking out of it. He's taking the plunger with him. And then as the crew's like starts to follow him, they're like, I said please. And then he like throws the box.
Yeah, this is like a big moment for Nandor. I think it was like he's finally like, you can't. I don't know if it's more like he was fired, or he can't see Guillermo as much, or he's just that he was mad that he was ever doing it in the first place. Almost.
Well, he's mad that he says it. He says, and I can't believe that he can't even bring himself to say it. He's like, I got fired by my own familiar.
Yeah,
he's very despondent.
My former familiar. He says, yes, he does say that. Yeah, I think it's just like an aha moment for him to be like, wow, this is what I've sunk to, But yeah, it was a sad kind of thing. But so meanwhile, they were having a big corporate meeting in there, and Jordan is laying out all his corporate stuff, the LBO team and whatever. And Nadja comes in and says, hey, I got something for you guys. Railroad, whatever. Staten Island Southwestern Railroad was the name of the company they came up with, which I don't know. It's Staten Island and something.
Yeah, she wants to kind of save the problem that Colin and Laszlo have created, which is Sean doesn't have a job or a place to be really, or anything like that. So
just a fake office.
She's gonna fix it. She goes into the office and what does she say? She's like, oh, Jordan's like, I think you got the wrong meeting there, Elvira.
Yeah, he calls it Elvira.
And he's like, oh, who wants to live in she says, who wants to live in mansions? And she's like, okay, before I fire you, what do you got to say? And she's like, well, I thought this was the place where you guys' dicks are so big they wipe the floors. Or you too busy sucking each other off. Well, do you like trains? Your mom does, because even with her two big wide set legs.
I know.
So she like pitches this whole idea, has like a deck and everything for them to look at.
I know it's pretty. I love they use the word deck.
Railroad.
Do you ever? I mean, I remember when I worked at BU. I worked at BU for a long time, and we went from slides to actual PowerPoint slides, and now apparently they're decks. So like it's kind of. But she's got a whole presentation for them.
Same term for that. Yeah, I still have to deal with decks mostly for marketing. I don't like to. I rarely have to put them together, but sometimes I'm in meetings about decks.
Yeah. But yeah, she, she's got a whole thing, but she basically dares them or like insults their manhood to say like, you should look at this. So yeah, they show up at the office and they can tell it's fake immediately. They're like, the woman's like, this guy's computer's made of cardboard or whatever. Like it's not even real.
Roger goes
like connected to anything.
Look at this piece of paper. It just says train on it. And it says train like 100 times. Yeah, like over and over. And Jeremy's like, is this he looks into the camera. He's like, is this a prank? Are you guys pranking us? This is like a prank, right?
This is a prank show. And then Nadja and Laszlo are like fighting, and she's like, "You spent $3,000 for this dumb idea," and he says, "3,500 actually." And the guy suddenly say, "Wait, you got this for 3,500?" And like they're like, "That's a good deal." And the guy, I love that Rajat says, "That real estate girl I'm fucking says that Staten Island is the next whatever." Like I don't know what some borough or something. I don't know. So they decide to buy the fake railroad company, which obviously puts Sean out of a job because because the company closed immediately because it wasn't a real company in the first place.
And Sean's like putting up like one of those like office like basketball hoops on his door, and then they break the news to him, and he's like, "Well, I'm taking this train. My grandfather gave me this train. It's like a toy train from when he was a kid."
I know, it's classic. And he says, "Well, it's solved kind of like this is like the classic TV show, like all the ideas, the storylines coming together and resolving themselves at the end." It's great. But Nandor is still fired, so I guess that didn't really resolve itself. But we find out next episode. And I love it. And these sort of mid-credit scene or whatever, they have Sean. He's like, "Yeah, I'm grateful for my short time at the railroad." Like, what was it even a day? Like, how long did he work there?
Yeah, and he's like going around with his resume to all
he's
these
like,
other
my
places.
resume.
He's like getting caught in like a revolving door, and then he goes up to some ladies in the lobby, and he goes, "Can you tell me where the Sean Rinaldi interview is?"
I know he keeps like fucking up or whatever. It was like,
Yeah,
but this guy's gonna be okay.
down.
He's putting his fly up. Yeah, I'm gonna be okay. This guy's on TaskRabbit. They show him putting together like IKEA furniture. Probably,
yeah, and it's all fucked up. It's
like falls apart.
Like falls apart. I don't know. It's like, yeah, Charlene is a little upset, but this guy's gonna be okay.
TaskRabbit. I mean, I guess it's still a thing. I remember when that was like new.
It is in the recent past. Stacy was on vacation. She had a standard car at the time, and I don't know how to drive standard, but something happened where she like needed to move her car across the street because of street cleaning, or it got towed. I had to call somebody on TaskRabbit to literally move her car across the street. That was the last time I used it. And I thought, like, in my search for like little Gap jobs, so Uber Eats and whatever, like thought to do that, but I don't know. I've used TaskRabbit, but I've never like gone on there as like, oh, I'll do whatever for whatever amount of money.
I bet there's probably something on there for you or whatever. I have a friend who used to do. He's good at like light switches and stuff like that. He knows like a little bit about that, and he actually put up one of our chandeliers. Although we gave him like a 6-pack of beer or whatever. But yeah, he's done that on TaskRabbit. He says it's really easy for me to do, and people are always so grateful and so happy, and it takes me like 20 minutes and I get paid like for the full hour or whatever it is.
I like even like well overpaid to have that to have someone move their car across the street just because they knew how to.
I mean, they were probably like, that's the easiest one,
Yeah, I even said to him, I was like, this is easy. You're gonna get paid the full amount, and I just need it done. Thank you.
Well, there you go. I mean, you know me, I was looking for a little extra money, but I've never tried it. So I don't know. Maybe if I was good at putting together IKEA furniture like Sean, although he's not very good at it. Yeah, this guy's going to be okay.
I tried to use it one time to get someone to put up flyers around town, but that job sucks. And I wouldn't even want to pay somebody to do it. It's like, because it's not like the 90s anymore. You can't just put like posters on flagpoles and shit. You know what I mean? They get taken down, or like somebody complains, or like restaurants and bars don't want them now, especially post COVID. People have their places, they're all set up nice, and you drop a stack of flyers, or you're like looking for a place to hang one in the window. They're like, can't you see there's no other fucking flyers here? We just cleaned the windows. You know what I mean? Like,
it's some rando walking in and that sucks.
So even trying to pay somebody to do that job, it's not. I wouldn't even want to do that to them.
Well, we are. That's episode 4. So as we record this, there was an episode 5. Tonight will be episode 6, which is called Laszlo's Father. So I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know.
And Nandor's Army is the next one.
Yes, Nandor's Army,
So
which
no
is
spoilers,
also quite
no
fun.
spoilers.
No spoilers, but I like that it does sort of continue it's not just like a one-off. This does continue some of the storylines so far. So I like that. We'll obviously be back and do that one. We'll do the whole season. But you can check out all of these episodes, all of the previous Vampire Council episodes, vampcouncil.com, leaguepodcast.com/Vamp Council. You can also go to our Facebook group, join in the conversation, and go to YouTube as well and watch the episodes if you want to do that. Clay works very hard on them.
And you can also send an email to bat@vampcouncil.com or feedback@leaguepodcast.com with a voice recording of you saying bat, and we will incorporate it into the episode. Or you can just send us an email to say, hey, what's up? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Leave reviews wherever you can leave reviews for podcasts. We really appreciate that too.
That's right. We really do appreciate that. So thanks for listening, Clay. Thanks again. Thanks to you.
Thanks to
as
you.
we say.
This guy's going to be okay.
All right. Do you want to count it down?
Let's count it down. 3, 2, 1.
Back!
It's one of the hardest guitar pieces in the world to play.